Welcome back. I am Tyler here with my brother Ryan. Today we are breaking down the San Francisco 49ers three-round mock draft. Ryan and I, we did a full three-round mock draft, all 100 picks. And now here are the 49ers picks. Ryan, if you want to pull the slide, just to orient you a little bit on what you're seeing here. Obviously, the name in red and bold, that is the 49ers pick. Going to get to that here in a second. We did include a couple picks before and after as well, just to give some reference to who was taken before and who was off the board and who was still available. Obviously, also, too, you're looking at the positions here. They're off a little bit. We did do this mock draft before the Senior Bowl and also actually, too, before the championship games as well. So we're just finishing these out here for our three-round mock draft. I'm not too concerned about that just because at this point, it's still like kind of theory and philosophy on who's going to be available just because we're so late into the draft now here for the team. So also on the right, you're going to see some other potential options of guys that we think that they could take. So there's one thing I think with the Niners that they can maybe improve on a little bit. It's going to be the interior offensive line. You're going to want to be able to protect Brock Purdy. Also going to want to be able to make sure that Christian McCaffrey has the best running lanes possible. Graham Barton, he did have a good Senior Bowl and has been viewed highly. So I think that this would be a solid spot here for him coming in at the end of the first round here. So kind of want to throw it over to you. What are your overall thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Graham Barton. I think he has some tackle guard versatility. And when you're the 49ers, Trent Williams, I believe, is 32 now. He's getting up there in age, and I think potentially getting a replacement plan for him in place would be a good idea. Also, just adding depth or starting level talent across that offensive line would be a really good idea because looking at what they want to do, I mean, they are a run first offense, in my opinion. I think they want to get the ball in Christian McCaffrey's hands. They want to get Deebo Samuel running horizontally across the line of scrimmage and in the backfield, and then they stretch teams horizontally and then vertically. If you kind of look at what they like to do, and building that offensive line is going to be something that they are going to have to do because outside of Trent Williams, I think that they are lacking a good bit of talent there. So investing in Graham Barton here at 31. You could pick. You have the pick of the litter here. I think of the like second and third tier offensive tackles. So you could really pick which one you want. Some of them have more inside-outside versatility than others. And guys like Tyler Guyton were fast risers from the Senior Bowl. Patrick Paul as well is just a freak, 6'7", 330 out of Houston there. So I think either those guys are options as well. Jackson Powers Johnson, I think, is on the board. They might have to go up a little bit, I think, to get a guy like that. And Jordan Morgan, I was drafted a little bit before this as well, but I think him as a offensive guard would be a fantastic fit in this offense as well. So I like a lot of these, like, I don't want to say tier 2 because that makes them sound like not quite the top guys, but outside of Olaf Shanu and Joe Alt, I think you have like 8 or 10 guys that are all going to be kind of fluid in where they fall on people's draft boards. And I think Graham Barton is well in that mix.
I will say, kind of add on to that offensive line and then adding why Barton, I think, would be a good option here as well. Is they do have a fairly young offensive line outside of Trent Williams. He is going to be 35, actually.
35. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize he was that old.
But wow. Aaron Banks was drafted in the 2021 draft. Spencer Buford was the 2022 draft. Colton McVitz was the 2020 draft. All those guys were day 2 or day 3 picks. And then also even Drake Brendel, I believe he wasn't even drafted in the 2020 draft. I had to go back and double check. Oh no, actually, sorry, he's older. They got him in free agency in 2020. So my apologies about that. But still in general, relatively young. So I think just keep improving and just keep having at least good depth, I think, is a good option for the Niners moving forward. So let's move on to the second pick here. But before we do that, if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to be sure to get notified when we create new content. We are going to be working on our 7-round mock draft series here right after the Super Bowl. So ring the bell to get notified whenever that comes out for the 49ers. Ryan, going here now. I think there's another thing also too, and I'm being like extremely nitpicky here. Very, very nitpicky. Because when you have the best running back in the league, one of the best tight ends in the league, some of the best receivers in the league, when they get hurt, there's obviously going to be a drop-off in talent from the backups. So I say that just because their whole offense is built around those guys' explosiveness. And so I see when Debo got hurt, and then when Trent Williams got hurt, and McCaffrey was hurt also, that middle portion of the year, offense was not the same at all. So I understand you could take that with a grain of salt because they're already the best players in the league. But I think just adding more explosive depth, just different types of receiver talent, I think would be huge for this team.
Yeah.
So we did end up going with Johnny Wilson here, the huge receiver out of Florida State. I figure this might be something that's a little bit different than what they have. Also, maybe can add another kind of style of play for them as well. Another good red zone threat, just with his size. I don't know how teams are going to view him overall with how deep this receiving class is. I think end of second round maybe is a little too early, but we'll have to go and see how he does in the combine. Kind of keep watching film, but because I think he is like the 12th receiver off the board now at this point.
Yeah, I really liked Johnny Wilson. I actually thought he did fairly well for himself at the Senior Bowl, given what he is, because he is just this freak athlete that's 6'7", like 235, and he actually was playing like a true X position at the Senior Bowl and was stacking corners. Like he was actually beating guys with speed, like off the ball, and I think that is going to be a pretty enticing skill set for guys. Or for NFL scouts. And I think, again, maybe 63 is a little too rich, but I think to me, he was going to go early third. So I think taking him here at the back end of the second is like, all right, like maybe you reached on him by 10 picks. Like,
but and to me that's not even a reach.
Exactly.
And so I think he's something different than what they have here because Brandon Ayuk has definitely developed into one of the better receivers in the league. Debo, I mean, that's all you have to say. He's kind of invented a new position, it seems like, in the NFL. Kittle, McCaffrey, obviously, enough said. So I think you go and add, there's just another weapon in Kyle Shanahan's arsenal of tools.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's another guy also as well that we're going to get to that I think we really like just because it's another totally different dynamic on what he can bring. Maybe even can help out if someone gets injured. So let's move on, though, to their final couple of picks here. Braden Fisk, really like this pick now, especially after the Senior Bowl. He had a very good Senior Bowl. I will say we have him here at 94. I don't think he's going to make it to 94 now, especially. And so, but really good guy. I think, if anything, beef up the interior and almost kind of have like maybe a similar effect to what the Pittsburgh Steelers might want to do is beef up the interior defensive line. So then TJ Watt has more one-on-one opportunities. Could be the same thing with Joey Bosa as well. Nick Bosa. Darn it, man. Darn it. Even as I was saying it, I was thinking the San Fran Nixo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as I'm saying it, it's like, oh, no, shoot. Okay. I said the wrong one. So, but Nick Bosa, I think, if there's a lot more focus on the interior as well, it's going to be more one-on-one matchups.
Chase Young, too. I mean, you add another guy. You have Javon Hargrave, Braden Fisk. Then you have Chase Young and Nick Bosa. I mean, that would just be a monstrous pass rush out there in San Francisco. To get to the guy that Tyler was referencing, this is one of my guys that I really like, and that's Anais Smith, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Really explosive, kind of a smaller, shifty gadget guy. He's going to be a really great punt returner. I will say probably not the highest performer at the Senior Bowl, but a very similar guy that had a really, really solid Shrine Bowl is going to be Malik Washington out of Virginia. Very similar build, very similar player, like play style. So they could go that route as well if they want to go with another wide receiver or another skill position player. To me, I think you kind of touched on this with the Johnny Wilson pick. Outside of Debo and Brandon Ayuk, granted, those are two top 15 wide receivers in the NFL, so you have to take this with a grain of salt. Both of those guys are or what they have after that is like Jawan Jennings. They invested in Ronnie Bell in last year's class with like a 6th-round pick. To me, I think both of those guys are not up to par for kind of your like wide receiver 3 and 4. And I really think if they go out and they invest in these guys, this offense would become so much more deadly just because I think you now not only have options 3 and 4, but you also have like 4 completely different types of wide receivers. You have your traditional like Brandon Ayuk wide receiver, right? Going to be the speedy kind of X receiver. Then you have Deebo Samuel, who, like you said, kind of created his own position in the NFL because he's not really a Z receiver. He's not a slot receiver. He's kind of like this like running back wide receiver hybrid. Then you have Christian McCaffrey. Then you have this monster of a man in Johnny Wilson on the outside, most likely getting one-on-one coverage. And then you have Anais Smith, who is going to be this field stretching kind of speedster guy who's gonna get open in short areas. So that to me, I think would be just a masterful array of weapons that Kyle Shanahan would be able to play with there. So let's get in here to the recap. So starting things off in the first round, Graham Barton, the tackle guard out of Duke. Then at 63, you have Johnny Wilson, the wide receiver out of Florida State. Braden Fisk, the defensive tackle at 94. And then with the compensatory pick at 98, Anais Smith, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. I really like this draft. Again, I don't know if Braden Fisk would quite be there. I think Anais Smith, maybe that's a little high for him. Maybe they end up going with like a Malik Washington out of Virginia. I just think this setup in the draft, this defense is already really good. I think they need to build up this offense a little bit more, just so they, not because I think that this offense needs to be built up, but just so that way, if they do run into that, all right, well, Deebo, Trent Williams, and Christian McCaffrey all got hurt in one game. What now kind of mentality, I think, is what this draft is trying to cover up.
Well, and it's so funny too, because I'm fully aware of, like, when I say that, it's like, well, yeah, no, duh. It's like if those guys are going to get hurt, if the star players on any team gets hurt, then it's going to be detrimental to that offense. But it's like their whole offense is built around those guys, and just try and go get different potential weapons or options, I think, as well, or go and find similar guys like Anais Smith or the Malik Washington from Virginia. Maybe he could replace Deebo Samuel and kind of in that role in case if Deebo does get hurt, because he has been a little injury prone at times over these past couple of years. So to be fair, he gets the ball a lot, so he's going to get banged up a lot. So that's also extremely picky, just to say, if we're just trying to kink and just see.
I agree.
And also too, we're recording this before the Super Bowl. So, and this will be coming out on Thursday, February 8th. So we could be saying all this, and by the time you watch this, they're Super Bowl champions, actually. So all this could be for nothing. So who knows?
Yeah.
The team is just so stinking good overall.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle Shanahan's one of the best coaches in the league. And so he's created a successful offense literally everywhere that he's went.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of this mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.